Welcome to Trial of the Hollywood Sex Therapist Killer, the harrowing and tragic story of Dr. Amie Harwick, who met a tragic end when she was allegedly thrown off her third-floor balcony by her stalker and ex-boyfriend, Gareth Pursehouse. Found clinging to life, but later succumbing to her injuries, Amie's death has raised many questions, with answers to be revealed in court. Join us as we dive deep into the ongoing trial of Gareth Pursehouse, the man accused of this heinous act, and as we seek justice for Amie.
All right, Detective, if you could approach the witness stand, please. Down here. You could raise your right hand, face my clerk here.
You solemnly state that the testimony you're about to give and the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. Please have a seat. Please state and spell both your first and last name.
Brian Wetzel, B-R-I-A-N, last name W-H-E-T-S-E-L.
May I have one moment?
Yeah.
All right. Please tell the jury what it is that you do for a living.
I'm sorry?
Please tell the jury what it is that you do for a living.
I'm a police detective supervisor for the Los Angeles Police Department. I'm currently assigned to Gang and Narcotics Division, and I'm a supervisor for the LAPD FBI Fugitive Task Force.
And how many years have you been a police officer?
30 years.
And how many years have you been a detective?
Approximately 14, 16 years.
Okay. Drawing your attention to the date of February 15, 2020, what was your assignment back on that date?
I was a detective supervisor for the Gang and Narcotics Division, LAPD FBI Fugitive Task Force.
And as part of that task force, were you assigned to arrest a Gareth Pursehouse on February 15, 2020, sometime after 4 p.m.?
February 15th on 2020, but it was, yes, we started the operation at approximately 14:30 hours, which would be at 2:30 p.m.
Okay. And how many members were part of this task force?
That day, I had approximately, I believe, 8 other detectives out there with me.
And what information did you receive in an attempt to arrest Mr. Gareth Pursehouse?
As far as...
Like photographs, how would you recognize them, what kind of vehicle he drove?
Yeah, so we conducted a briefing prior to doing the operation, at which time Mr. Pursehouse was identified, and we had a photo of him through his California ID photo, and then physical descriptors as long as description of his vehicle.
Right. And his DMV photo, did it include a description of his height and weight?
Yes.
And do you remember what that height and weight was?
I believe it was approximately 6 feet 4 inches, about 230 pounds.
And so you were looking, and you also had a picture of Mr. Pursehouse.
Yes, that's correct.
And did you know what kind of vehicle he drove at that time?
Yes.
And what kind of vehicle were you told he drove at that time?
It was a 2017 Lexus, 4-door red. I believe the license was 8 Adam George Sam 266.
And I have a photograph, an exhibit with 3 photographs showing a red vehicle. May this be marked people's necks in order?
It's 62.
62 photographs, A, B, and C. In that photograph A, of people 62. Do you recognize that vehicle?
Yes.
How do you recognize that?
That's the same vehicle that Mr. Pursehouse was arrested him that day when he was driving the vehicle away.
And where did you and your task force arrest Mr. Gareth Pursehouse?
We conducted a surveillance at his residence of record or the address on his California ID with the 8148 Cabrera.
Cabrera Drive
Yes.
in the city of Playa del Rey.
Yes.
I have a map, Your Honor, here showing the address of 8148 Cabrera Drive. May this be marked as People 63?
Yes.
Looking at People 63, you tell the jury what is shown there.
It's an aerial photo of depicting 8148 Cabrera Drive.
Is that the address you have for defendant Gareth Pursehouse?
Yes.
And I have a photograph showing a close-up of a garage and Cabrera Street. May this be marked People's Next in Order number 64, A and B.
Yes.
Looking at 64A, you recognize what's shown there?
Yes, that's the garage associated with that address, and it's the garage facing, leading out onto Cabrera Street.
Looking at photograph B of this exhibit, can you tell us what is shown there?
Well, if you look at, that's the intersection of Cabrera and Sinaloa Drive.
Let me take
Okay.
Looking at photograph 63, People 63,
Yes.
it's Sinaloa shown here and Cabrera.
Yes.
And so about what time did you arrive at the defendant's address?
We started conducting surveillance approximately 14:30 hours.
So 2:30 p.m.?
2:30 p.m., yes.
So when you say you started conducting surveillance, what does that mean?
Well, we set up an attempt to locate, locate the suspect. We believe that was the address of record for him, so we set up on location the event that he would exit, at which time we would take him into custody.
So did you have vehicles at different locations on different streets near his address?
Yes.
And at some point, did you notice a vehicle exiting that garage depicted on People 64A?
Yeah, so during the surveillance, it was put out that the suspect had exited and moved a bike in front of the garage door, and that then he entered the vehicle and was exiting the garage and then started to pull away westbound on Cabrera.
Did anybody notice whether there was any other passenger with him at the time that he entered the vehicle?
Yes, I saw another passenger with him.
Can you describe this other person?
There was a female white wearing a white sweatshirt.
Did you later make contact with this white female?
Yes.
And looking here at a photograph with the name of Judice Angelina, this be marked People's Next in Order, number
Yeah, 65.
65. You see that there, that D&D photo?
Yes.
Is that the person you later identified as the passenger in Mr. Purshouse's car on the date of his arrest?
Yes.
And so you mentioned that defendant Pursehouse got into his vehicle, is that correct?
Yes.
And did the woman also get into the vehicle?
Yes, when I saw her, she was in the vehicle.
And just to go back to 62A, looking at photograph B, is this a picture of the back of the vehicle with the license plate number of 8AGS266?
Yes.
I'm looking at photograph C, is that the picture of the left side of the vehicle?
Correct, the driver's side.
And back to 63. So what happened after they were seen entering that red vehicle?
So the vehicle pulled away out of the garage and began driving westbound Cabrera Drive, at which I ordered that we were going to initiate a stop of the vehicle.
And it was a vehicle approaching Sinaloa Road?
Yes.
And so what, can you explain to the jury what happened at that point?
So as they were driving westbound towards Sinaloa on Cabrera, as they approached the intersection, I had vehicles pre-staged, at which time we initiated a traffic stop right at the intersection of Cabora, and Sinaloa.
Okay, and during this traffic stops, were guns drawn?
Yes,
And why is that?
because it was a felony stop of a murder suspect.
And so at that point, you don't know if the person's armed or what the situation is.
Yeah, that's correct.
And was he taken out of his vehicle without incident?
Yes.
Okay. Was there any struggle with him at all?
No.
Okay. Did anybody touch him in any way? Anybody hit him or do anything like that to him?
No, he was cooperative and was taken into custody without incident.
So nobody caused any bruises or abrasions on him?
No.
And I'm going to play a video clip at this time. It's only, I think, 1 or 2 minutes, and ask you if you recognize this as a clip showing a part of that interaction with Mr. Pursehouse at the time of his arrest.
Is that an exhibit or is it included in something else?
It's an exhibit, Your Honor. May this be marked people's next in order. There's no
66.
66. There's no sound, so there's not going to be a transfer.
All right. That's a DVD, I take it?
I'm sorry?
It's a DVD?
Just a DVD.
All right.
Can we play it now, Your Honor?
Yes, of course.
You recognize this video?
Yes. I recognize the location and the vehicles. I believe it was probably a video taken from one of the responding patrol officers.
Are these, at this time, are these members of the unit? The
Yes.
task force? Okay,
Yes.
Let me stop it right there. If we could just go back a few seconds. Do you see a female over to the right of this video ad with the timestamp has it as, yeah,
Before that.
this is at 32, I'm starting at 32 seconds. I'm gonna have to go back a little bit. Right there. Okay. Now I stopped it at 32 seconds. Do you see what appears to be a female on the right side?
Yes.
And who is that?
That would be Angelique.
Angelique Judice?
Yes.
Okay. In this video clip, you don't see the defendant.
He's in the video. He's in there.
Okay. I'm sorry?
Yes, the defendant's in that video.
And can we just back up to that? All right, and I stopped it at 22 seconds. Is that the defendant who appears to be in the front of a vehicle?
Yes, he's standing in front of the silver Chevy Colorado truck.
Okay, and you see the clothing he's wearing?
Yes.
I'm going to show you another photograph of an individual. May this remark people's next in order.
67.
67. Looking at people 67. Is that a photograph of defendant Pursehouse, the clothing he was wearing at the time of his arrest?
Yes, it is.
And after his arrest, was he taken somewhere?
Yes.
Objection, foundation.
Well, do you know for a fact that he was transported somewhere?
Yes, he was transported back to the police station.
Okay. No rule.
And looking back at People's Exhibit number 62, the vehicle, the red Lexus, did you determine whether that vehicle was registered to the defendant?
Objection, foundation, speculation.
Well, it goes defense side, but I have to hear from him.
You can answer that.
Yes.
How did you do that?
By running the plate number.
Objection, hearsay.
No rule.
And did you do that?
Yes.
And was a copy of the registration documented?
Yes, a copy of the DMV printout.
And did that vehicle with the license plate number 8AGS266 come back to a registered owner of Pursehouse Garrett at 8148 Cabora Drive, City of Playa del Rey?
Objection, foundation, hearsay.
No rule.
You can answer.
Yes, it did.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Good afternoon, Detective Wetzel.
Good afternoon.
You know, I did forget something. May I?
Go ahead.
All right. Now, not asking you to answer questions you may not know about, but at some point were you informed that the defendant had been released?
Yes.
And were you asked to rearrest him?
Yes.
And was he rearrested on February 19th, 2020?
Yes.
And were you part of that arrest?
Yes, I was.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
All right, Mr. Franco.
Good afternoon, Detective.
Good afternoon.
Following Mr. Purshouse's February 15th, 2020 arrest, he posted bail.
Yes, I was advised that he posted bail.
And then he was rearrested on the 19th, right?
Yes, February 19th.
You were part of that second arrest, right?
Yes, correct.
Was it the same task force?
Yes.
Now, it's a LAPD, FBI, I want to get the name right. What's the name of the task force?
Fugitive Task Force?
Okay. It's comprised of LAPD detectives like yourself, right?
Yes.
And also an FBI employee or two?
Yeah, FBI agents?
And how many FBI agents were part of the February 15th arrest?
On that day, only one FBI agent was with us.
And how many on the 19th?
I believe only one.
Neither the FBI agents nor LAPD detectives wear any sort of body-worn video when effectuating either of these two arrests in this case.
That is correct.
In terms of the arrest on the 15th, there were multiple unmarked SUVs that were positioned in advance of the arrest, right?
Yes.
Do you recall how many?
I believe it was 8 of us out there that day.
Each with his or her own vehicle?
Yes, each detective and FBI agent was assigned with their own vehicle. So it's one man per vehicle. Man or woman per vehicle.
Publishing People 63. Approximately, do you recall where the 8 vehicles were positioned immediately before the arrest?
I believe I had.
And if you need a pointer, sorry to interrupt you, if you need a pointer, there should be one behind you.
I believe I had one detective up here. This would be the south end of the residence for 8148. So I had detectives up here in the event that someone were to walk out.
If I may just
On the
make a
testimony?
record, yeah. So it
I'm
looks,
sorry.
It looks like no. I just want to make sure the record's clear. It appears to me that you are pointing at a testimony where it can right in the lower right hand part of the image, where the back of 8148 would arrive on testimony. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay. Continue, please.
I believe I had on the upper right-hand corner, it really doesn't depict it in this photo, but I had at least two units to the east in the event he would drive out and drive to the east.
Okay, so let the record reflect that Officer Detective Wetzel was pointing to the very upper right-hand corner where Cabora was off of the image.
Right.
And then I had the remaining officers or detectives staged on Sinaloa and and Cabora.
And the detective is pointing to the intersection of Sinaloa and Cabora.
Right.
And so they're placed along Sinaloa, and then also Cabora looks like it turns into like a cul-de-sac as you go to the north.
Okay. And the officer, the detective, is pointing towards where Cabora goes off the image on the right-hand side. So when you ordered for the arrest to occur, did the single agent and all of the detectives respond to the intersection of Cabora and Sinaloa?
Not initially. Eventually, yes. Not initially.
Okay. In the moment of the arrest, how many of these unmarked SUVs appeared?
You're talking about the initial arrest, is that correct?
Right. Once you give the order for the arrest to occur, how many of the SUVs then came in to effectuate the arrest?
So the one that was on Tuscany stayed. The other two on the east, covering the east, they would have stayed. So the only people during the actual, at the moment of arrest or the takedown, would be approximately 5 vehicles.
And they approached in a way so that to prevent any ability for the car to drive down Sinaloa or Cabora, right?
Yes, I believe one traveled north to south on Gabor, Sinaloa, right at Gabor, and the other one traveled south to north. I think the remaining traveled south to north,
And let the
right
record,
at the intersection.
Thank you. And let the record reflect that the Detective Wetzel was pointing at the intersection of Cabora and Sinaloa. You had somebody with a long gun on a building, right?
At which point?
Prior to and throughout the arrest until it was clear.
I'm not sure what you're saying.
You had a detective with a long gun pointing at a building for security sake.
Let's approach. All right, yes.
So just kind of to cut to the chase, the detectives and the FBI agent were pretty heavily armed, right?
Not heavily armed. I mean, we're armed with the equipment that we have.
One individual had like a big shotgun rifle with a. Isn't that true?
Yes, one of the long guns was a shotgun.
If I have a few screenshots that I'd like to mark as defense next in order.
With double R.
Double R, right?
Excuse me, double R, yes.
So this is RR1, RR2. It's up to 6, Your Honor.
All right.
publishing RR1. Sir, do you recognize what kind of equipment the individual on the left has on? This is a screenshot from the aftermath of the arrest, right? Immediately after the arrest.
Yes. Yeah, just so you're clear that, yeah, that officer, that detective was not present during the arrest. He was one of the detectives that was staged on the east side.
Okay, and he has like a big
Objection,
rifle.
Sustained. Based on the court's sidebar that just occurred, I'm going to sustain the objection. And if all your photographs are going to that, I'm going to sustain the court's own objection under 352.
Okay, Mr. Pursehouse was standing there and saw these individuals, right?
That's cause for speculation, counsel. You don't know if you saw them.
Were you present when Mr. Pursehouse was, after Mr. Pursehouse was being arrested, after Mr. Pursehouse was arrested and the other detectives arrived to the scene of the arrest? Were you personally present?
Yes.
And Mr. Pursehouse was there also?
He was there at scene, yes. At some points he was standing, as you saw in the video, facing the, I believe when he standing at the front of the truck, he was facing westbound. And where this officer is standing, that would be directly, that's actually in front of the garage, which would be east of that location.
Wait, so you're saying that because he's, in that video, because he's facing west, he can't see what's around him?
Objection.
No, I never said that.
It's sustained.
All I'm trying to establish is what he saw.
Well, we don't know what he saw, counsel. Like now, if he was in the area of that and he appeared to be looking, that's one thing. But at the same time, even with that, it's not relevant.
All right. Publishing RR3. So this is Mr. Pursehouse, right?
Yes, correct.
And then is that a detective or an FBI agent?
FBI agent.
All right. So this FBI agent has on.
Again, counsel, this is the third attempt at we talked at sidebar. You're presenting what was at the scene, and let's approach again. Yeah. Okay, counsel, yes, go ahead.
Thank you. So all of the detectives and the one FBI agent had on vests, right?
Yes.
These were, bulletproof vests, right?
Yes. Tactical body armor, yes.
And at least a couple of the detectives had large rifles.
What you would call long guns, I guess?
Yes.
All right.
The only individuals that had on body worn were the officers who responded after the arrest.
Yes, that's correct.
So there's actually no video from the arrest itself.
Not to my knowledge.
To effectuate the arrest, the entire street in that intersection was completely shut down, right?
It was blocked with vehicles. But again, which street?
Cabora, where Cabora and Sinaloa meet, and we watched the video that Mr. Avila played, and it showed. I don't want to take the time to play it again, but it showed, multiple cars that were parked and blocking, ingress and egress for, 100 yards or so, going down east on Cabora, towards where Cabora and Sinaloa meet.
Yes.
Okay. And towards the end, an airship arrives.
Yes.
And an airship is the term that law enforcement uses to describe a helicopter.
Was our air support? Yes.
Air support, yeah. Now, you were not... Mr. Avila asked you about whether any of the actions taken during the arrest caused any bruises or abrasions. You were not the one who arrested him, like physically, right? It was Detective Hidalgo.
Yes, in my presence.
How far away were you?
I was standing in my vehicle, so probably within 10 to 20 feet.
You were in your vehicle.
No.
Did you exit your vehicle while the arrest was occurring?
Yes, I never said I was sitting in my vehicle during the arrest. I was
I
out
see.
of my vehicle.
You were out of your vehicle.
Yes,
I misheard you.
and I was present during the arrest.
10 to 20 feet away from Detective Hidalgo.
No, from the defendant.
Detective Hidalgo was the one who effectuated the arrest.
Yes. So are you talking about when he placed handcuffs on him?
Yes.
Oh, I was probably closer than that then. During when he placed handcuffs on him, I was closer than that.
How many?
Probably within 5 to 10 feet.
How many detectives physically detained him to put handcuffs on him?
I believe Detective Hidalgo was the only one that placed handcuffs on him. Maybe one additional person assisted with holding his arm while he placed handcuffs on.
You testified that the arrest occurred without incident, right?
Yes.
He was compliant.
Yes.
And he obeyed orders.
Yes.
He told you where his keys were.
Objection. Hearsay.
I think you testified that he was cooperative. Was that correct?
That's correct. He was
Part of his
cooperative.
cooperation. Did he tell you where his keys were?
I'm not sure if I was the one asking him for his keys.
Okay.
Move to strike the answer.
All right, sure.
That you needed like a clicker to get into his garage, and that he explained how that worked.
Objection. Hearsay
Sustained.
and foundation.
Yeah, sustained.
How many individuals were part of the second arrest on the 19th?
We had approximately the same. On the 19th, I believe, 8 to 10. 8 to 10 detectives.
And
Approximately the same.
there's no video whatsoever associated with that event.
Not that I'm aware of. It was outside of the In and Out at 92nd and Sepulveda. So I'm sure there's video somewhere over there.
Nothing further.
Yeah, redirect.
So, for this arrest on February 15, 2020, we have this body-worn video, correct?
Yes.
And there was other body-worn video. Were there other officers wearing body-worn video at about this time?
On the 15th?
Yes.
Yes.
And was there video of the defendant inside the patrol car once he's placed into the patrol car?
Yes.
And given the guns that officers had on them, the number of cars, and the airship, how would you describe defendant's demeanor during all this?
Objection, speculation, relevance.
Well, overall, you said describe. How would you describe?
How would you describe his demeanor during this whole incident where you have patrol cars, guns, and the airship?
Also, outside the scope.
Overruled. I think that was your point in trying to ask some of the questions. So, go ahead.
He was cooperative with what we were asking him or telling him to do, and his demeanor was calm and cooperative. Yeah.
Do LAPD Fugitive Task Force, do they wear body-worn video? Are they required to wear body-worn video?
No.
Why not?
Due to the nature of our operations and the surveillances that we're conducting, that we're not required to wear body-worn video.
Did you see Officer Hidalgo when he's arresting the defendant, placing the handcuffs on him? Do you see him strike him, hit him in any way?
Absolutely not. I'm a supervisor, so if that would have occurred, I would have to conduct a use of force investigation. So, nothing like that occurred.
I have nothing further.
Anything?
2 questions.
Yes, go ahead.
They're 3. Who told you that he bailed out?
I believe Detective Carranza notified me.
This was what's called a felony stop, right?
Yes.
Objection beyond the scope of the redirect.
And that's a specific term that refers to the manner and the level of force used during a stop, right?
Just a vague level of force used?
Okay.
Trying to rephrase.
A felony stop is a term that is used to describe the amount of officers or detectives and the amount of resources and procedures that are put in place to make an arrest.
Objection compound.
Sustained.
Mr. Pursehouse had to lay prone on the ground when he got out of his car.
Yes, we ordered him out of the vehicle and ordered him into a prone position.
And so a prone position means that you lay down on the ground face down, right?
Yes, on your stomach.
On your stomach with your hands
Hand-
above your head.
No, hands out to your side.
Hands out to your side. And he did that.
Yes, on his own accord.
Nothing further.
Any-
No questions.
You may step down, Detective. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes. People, you want a good time to stop?
It's up to the court, Your Honor.
Do you have, well, can you do something in 10 minutes, or?
Sorry.
It's
No.
going to be longer. We won't complete the witness agreement.
You're quick to speak for that issue. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and take the afternoon recess. We'll see you all tomorrow at 9:30. Be safe, if you will, please.
More of the trial of the Hollywood sex therapist killer is on the way. Press subscribe now so you don't miss a moment of this riveting courtroom drama as we seek justice for Dr. Amie Harwick.